You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, September 16th, and you are now getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, but it is also today is real Mexican Independence Day, National Working Parents Day, National Guacamole Day, National Play-Doh Day, Mayflower Day, shout out to Gretchen, National Tradesman Day, National Stepfamily Day, and National POW/MIA Recognition Day, and National Cinnamon Raisin Bread Day. So please remember to like and share and follow us on all social media platforms. And remember, we're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're watching us via Clubhouse or listening to us via Clubhouse, you can also participate by raising your hand if you have a brief story on the most recent story presented. But without further ado, let's pay a quick bill and get right back to the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels, and we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Coming up first, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte. When he's not changing diapers and chasing kids around school, you can find him babysitting grown-ass adults at a TEDx convention in a local city near you. When he's not doing any of that, you know where you can find him. That's right. Working on football drills, when he's constantly doing big threes for constantly backpedaling on safe banking. Coming up first, it is none other than the Rico Lamitte.
I have no idea what a big three is.
You know what a big three is, bro.
Basketball tournament.
You know what a big three is.
Basketball tournament.
It's when you have to crab 100 yards, backpedal 100 yards, and then sprint 100 yards.
Oh, yeah. We never got the big three, but shout out to Ice Cube. Either way, thank you for that phenomenal Friday introduction, Jason, and welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for getting high at 9 with us yet again. My headline today is from the Ukiah Daily Journal by Justine Fredrickson. Cookies. Name of new cannabis dispensary in Ukiah has many concerned. Earlier this week, Mandy Tingler covered a new Rutgers University study outlining the direct correlation between dispensary openings and an uptick in local home values. We also discussed some of the other positive results of legal pot shops opening in neighborhoods: lower crime, job creation, community programming, less pollution. Those were just a few of the things that we mentioned. But what if dispensary opening in your backyard's color and name bears the resemblance to your child's favorite Sesame Street character? Would that give you pause on supporting the movement? At least on the surface, that's what's going on up in Ukiah, where California residents push back on the new cookies store opening in the small yet legendary Emerald Triangle town. Per the article, the name and look has many concern that it would attract minors, and Ukiah residents feel is much more attractive than the structure that it replaced. I think that the sign needs to be rethought, said James Whitaker, addressing the Ukiah City Council during its September 7th meeting, describing the color, name, imagery used by the business as evoking the Sesame Street character Cookie Monster, which he described as state marketing to the kids. Somebody really needs to take that seriously. I had to laugh at that shit, man. Like, really? That's what you go after? Ukiah City Council claimed to be blindsided by the drama accordingly sent to constituents by community development director Schlatter. No city staff, planning commissioners, or design review board members were aware of the proposed name or signage at the time of the dispensary uses permit review and approval. Instead, generic placeholder signage was presented by the applicant. But it can be changed. Schlatter said later that at this stage, the signage can conform to the objective signage criteria in the Ukiah City Code, but all approved permits for cannabis dispensaries are subject to a 1-year renewal approved by the zoning administrator. So basically, it is what it is for now, but he ain't promising that they'll get their permit renewed by next year's approval. Ukiah Daily Journal sent an inquiry to the State Department of Cannabis Control regarding whether Cookie's sign and name would qualify as using objects or imagery designed in any manner likely to be appealing to minors or anyone under 21 years of age. And the DCC actually got back to them. The department reviews complaints, including this one of this nature, on a case-by-case basis, considering all facts and circumstances of a particular situation. Information related to concerns about noncompliance with regulatory requirements are submitted to the department's complaint system. The department does not comment on ongoing investigations. Interesting. This is where Kim Barron, Cookie's director of marketing and PR, sent an email to the back to the Journal that the Cookie's name originated from its namesake debut strain in 2008. At the time, the color palette was intentionally selected as a standout, approachable color. In marketing words. Look, I get it. Cookies has been a controversial name for the weed industry and for the giant for some time now. A successful lawsuit by the Girl Scout Cookies of America back in 2017 led to a mass dropping of Girl Scout cookies, the GS before cookies in dispensaries carrying the popular strain. That's why you don't really see Girl Scout cookies as a strain anymore. Let's keep it up. Ukiah is the second largest city in Mendo County with a population of 15,000. There's a ton of legacy players out there who absolutely despise what Cookies has become as a brand, and they don't want corporate cannabis taking over their town. I get it. But I really don't think this is the children's censorship bullshit is the right way to fight back, and it'll probably end up hurting any of these complainers in the long run. Gavin Newsom eased up the rules last week, and cannabis possession for parents in the eyes of authorities is no longer seen any different than prescription drugs or alcohol. So y'all got to come with the same energy you're coming at Cookies with when you talk about Bud Light partnering with the NFL. When you talk about Heineken partnering with Nintendo. Bright colors use an absolute vodka ad. The list is endless. The best way to fight back against corporate giants is good old-fashioned ground game, local marketing on your own. That's just fine. This is Rico Lamitte, dope is down the street,
and I've definitely been
Cookie Monster's getting it in.
I've been wondering, how frequently this was going to happen for brands like that. When we have the conversation of like, yes, they were originally called Girl Scout cookies, like that strain, their original strain, like that was obviously something that had to get changed.
Right.
But then to go to just cookies, which we're having this whole conversation about not appealing to children and this whole, thing, like they've never done any of those things. Like we say, oh, don't put cartoons on any of your packaging. There's a fucking cartoon on every one of their bags. You know what I mean? The law clearly states no advertisement with cartoons. And you look at every one of them, there's some fucking cartoon of like cereal milk. Alphabet cereal is on the front of one of their packages. And then like when we're having the conversation of not appealing to children, we're obviously not doing it, but I 100% agree with you, Rico. Like, where is this conversation for the fact that there's fucking alcohol truly has popsicles and they're end caps at grocery stores and there's like regular ice cream and then there's alcohol ice cream, where's the line for that? Like I agree that it's out of the regulation, but at the same time, like with the way alcohol is able to advertise, like I don't know.
I think if you're gonna clap back at shit like this, let it come from outside of our industry. We don't need to be tearing apart our own. And just let that kind of shit go. That's the hill you're gonna die on. Like going against these guys, like it is what it is. It's corporate cannabis at this point.
I just find this hysterically amusing for the fact that it's the city of Ukiah that's doing this, when city of Ukiah has been one of the hotbeds of cannabis production for the last 100 years.
Ukiah is also the city where everyone goes to jail in Mendo. It's the place that has the jail. So
yeah, it's the county seat where the courthouse is. But you know, this is not the first time Cookies has dealt with this issue. They named their San Francisco dispensary Cookie San Francisco, and then they had to rename it Burners on Hate because it appealed to children. So this is not a made-up issue. Exactly. This has happened before. They've lost on this exact same issue before. And they're just trying to, try it in a small, less well-funded city that can't fight back.
I have to, I'm sorry, disagree. I mean, I have no sympathy for the city of Ukiah. They put in the permits, they approved them. It's not their fault that nobody looked at the signage, nobody knew what was going up. Idiots shouldn't approve the permits, so let them go forward with this.
Hey,
the fun part though is that they're on the best and less worst part about the cannabis industry is your first effort, your first run in. A lot of times it's a conditional permit and you have zero rights. And so if they're under their conditional permit and they're not actually, if they have a temporary permit and not their annual, this whole chaos can't take them away from it. So it's like it's dumb on them to put themselves during their conditional use phase to get brought up against a bunch of complaints.
Hey, Omar, do you know the official business name of Cookies, like where they're listed in the DCC?
A bunch of different names. There's a ton of different ones.
Because the city of Ukiah claims that they did not know the name of the business that was going to be opening up, and they were blindsided by the name of
I'm calling
shit.
fake news on that. That's total fake news.
Bullshit. Yeah, I call 100% bullshit on that. They took the fucking money. They wanted they passed the fucking permits knowing exactly who they did business with, and they're backtracking because they're getting community backlash.
Rico, I have a question. Were there actual complaints from the community? Does it say in the story, or
it was a city hall meeting. It was a city hall meeting like last week, and a bunch of people came up complaining about it, and they talk about like, oh, this is marketing to children. But I'm gonna run these names from the article.
I'm really surprised
that they're not from the industry.
I'm really surprised that the city of Ukiah has not uprooted all of their Karens and Susans. But we do have, 100%.
I'm surprised Karens would live in Ukiah.
That's part of my whole point. Like, why haven't they already like moved somewhere else? But we have Dr. Talleyrand also with us, who I believe has a comment on this. Dr. Talleyrand.
Thanks, Jason. I lived in Ukiah for 11 years. The Ukiah Daily Journal is supported by the wine industry, and they have been against cannabis for quite a long time. So they're always pushing back on anything related to cannabis. So this is not unusual.
Thank you so much for that insight, Dr. Talleyrand. That's actually really valuable drop of knowledge there on the way out. So thank you for that headline, Rico, and definitely insightful conversation. We'll see what happens to Cookies Ukiah. And without the cookies, he's really just a monster. Anyways, up next, our very own cookie monster, Mr. Jason Beck. Jason is the longest running retailer in the history of regulated cannabis, the member of any political party that might piss you off, and probably not the guy that you'll catch wearing blue anytime soon. Red shirt wearing Jason Beck. What the hell do you have for us this morning?
That's right. It's Mexican Independence Day. Jeez. Always attacking me for the red. Sue whoop. Yeah. But nonetheless, new data shows a hazy outlook for local marijuana shops. That's right. Local marijuana shops are facing a hazy outlook after Michigan's Cannabis Regulatory Agency showed that prices are dropping to 40 to 50% and supply is outgrowing consumption. Fox 17 learned that a lot of dispensaries in cities like Grand Rapids are selling just to cover costs. In some cases, they're selling at a loss. Red Arrow Farms, a family-owned shop in Van Buren County, Bangor, is growing about 20,000 plants. They say something needs to be done soon, or fix this, or a lot of local mom and pop shops will go out of business. It's, in a quote, they say, it's kind of a race to the bottom now, explained Bethany Rolfels, co-founder of Red Arrow Farms. We're hanging on by a thread, and I think that's kind of the case for most people that are like us and anyone that's smaller. The medical market saw a 48% decrease from July of 2021 to July of 2022. The adult use market saw a similar decrease, hovering at 44%. The price has just been bottom level, the lowest that we've seen in really ever for this last summer. It's been rough, Rolfel said. If they want that good product that's grown with craft cannabis touch, there's a cost to that as well. Some consumers could see this as good news because they're paying less for more, but of course, there's the trade-off. Now the CRA is looking for a moratorium on grow licenses. Another option is whether the agency should eliminate excess grower licenses. And the third option the CRA is considering is putting a pause on allowing people to have more than 5 grower licenses and 1 marijuana micro business, which right now is set to start in 2023. In a quote, there's still hope right now, but if it keeps dropping, we probably won't be able to hang on. You know, if flour drops down to $200 a pound, everyone's losing money at that point, Rolfel said. The CRA says that is about a 50% increase in immature plants, about 1 million adolescent or vegetative plants, with around 300% increase and about a 70% increase in plants ready for harvest. At this point, it's unclear when the CRA will decide with an option to take to help level out the supply chain woes. Well, Michigan, it sounds like you guys are dealing with what Californians deal with every day and Oregonians have dealt with for a number of years. It's called a price drop, because there's a gross oversupply of weed in America. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
So I feel like this is like the plan all along. You just kind of just let everybody in, let people fall off, and the big boys are waiting, for the big wave to come after legalization. It's sad, but true.
Wouldn't you call that more of a tidal wave or a tsunami stone?
Even more of a tsunami.
That's bait.
I know.
Yeah, this is like the same story like we're seeing over and over and over again. And I don't know, it just echoes other markets, small and big, across the country. Right now, you're going to see like a large drop off. I think we went over like the official data. A lot of people overbought, thinking that the pandemic sales are going to, I guess, like we're going to go back into lockdown, or the pandemic buying was going to continue. But like motherfuckers stocked up, and there's a lot more options now, so a lot less people are going to be making money. And this is where you roll your sleeves up, get your marketing team together, and start hitting the ground and connecting with your people. Like who are your loyal patients? Who are your loyal customers? And going deep with them, rather than going the way of the dodo, which we're going to see a lot of people doing this winter.
Who are the loyal custies, huh?
Currently in Michigan, I was actually a little curious because I couldn't remember how. So this is as of last year, this data. So there's probably more. The way that the cultivation licenses work in Michigan is it's a plant count. It's one of the few states that's still really tight on that plant count. So the way that the plants are running as of last year, if every single plant was grown at a low rate, and I'm going to say 33 grams per plant. So that's your shitty grower. Okay. We grew at 33 grams per plant. We grew a total of 72,000 pounds is what the current cultivation at 33 grams per plant, and at a 9 million population and at a 10% smoker rate of the adults, you're looking at about 1.8 ounces per smoker per month is in production right now in the state of Michigan. And I smoke 2 ounces a month, but not a lot of people do.
Mike Tyson apparently smokes 400 pounds a month.
That's his fucking posse smokes 400 pounds a month, bro. But
I don't know. I mean, I smoke about a half ounce a day at least.
J-Beck, you're not. Yeah. Yeah. And a half ounce a day, that's what, a full ounce?
That's like a pound a month. It's like a pound.
Yeah, that's not 4 pounds, bro. 400 pounds.
But if if I was able to clone myself and make 4 of me.
Anyways, my point is right now there's enough weed for every smoker in Michigan at low cultivation numbers, and that's off of last year's numbers. So it's probably almost doubled since then, right? So let's just say 3 ounces per person per month on a smoker level, and that's beyond what most people are smoking.
Interstate trade, let's go.
Yeah. Hey, how far is the drive, Nicole, from Ohio to Michigan?
I mean, not far at all. It depends on what part of it.
What do you mean?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
It's like a jump, but it depends on like what part of Ohio you're coming from.
If I was in
Ohio,
Indiana,
Detroit,
any of those, I would be going to buy my weed in Michigan.
Detroit, it's like an hour. What do you mean? It's not far away at all.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So if I lived in any of these states, I would be traveling to Michigan to buy my weed because the prices are so low, and all those other states don't even sell eighths.
Well, welcome to Colorado 2016. Can we move to my story next?
Yes, we can. Is my video shitty? I just got word from.
Yeah, your video's garbage.
Yeah, your video's bad. Your audio's okay,
today,
but yeah. Okay, I think you'll be able to introduce me, and we'll be all right.
I'll introduce you, then I'm gonna hop out and hop back in. All right. She's a cannabis business consultant specializing in efficiency, agriculture, compliance, and draws upon wisdom gained from 30 days in Colorado jail to make sure you never have to go through the same shit. Every day she shows up to get hyphy for spreadsheets, and in her spare time she enjoys busting bullshit across state lines and is currently working on a doctorate in dirtbag psychology over at Long Beach Community College. Coming to the stage next, the self-described general data bitch herself, Nicole West.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. And as a response to Guap, not shrooming like heavy today, but definitely having my microdose so that my eyes don't twitch when people speak. But my headline today is actually a follow-up from my headline yesterday. My headline yesterday is where I discussed Wood County, which is a little county in Wisconsin that had added an adult 21 and over requirement for anyone selling Delta 8 THC at any stores throughout the county. Well, that new ordinance in Wood County that raised the age requirements to buy those products also added a few things for schools that we were not paying attention to yesterday, but definitely want to follow up on. So it covers the entire county, including schools, which means students not following this new ordinance could face larger consequences. While being under the influence of Delta 8 THC has always been prohibited on campus, the superintendent told the new ordinance will make it easier for them to enforce. Kids are impaired at school. That's the problem. And frankly, it doesn't matter what compound it is, says Craig Brorin, the superintendent of the Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools. That's why Brorin worked with Wood County Health Department and law enforcement to come up with this age restriction in the ordinance before it went into effect, so that the school districts could still take action. We could suspend or potentially even expel students who are creating an unsafe environment now, says Brorin. Under the new ordinance, law enforcement can now issue a citation in Wood County, but only the county people under 21 can buy and use some forms of THC legally and in other parts of the state. You might have a student or a parent that thinks, well, it's totally legal, so how much trouble can they get in for having something that's legal? And that, at least in Wood County, would be addressed in terms of, well, actually it's not. At least by the county ordinance, it's not. Not only is there an issue when what students are consuming, but it's how. Boren said that the students are consuming THC using vapes and candies like gummy bears and Nerds ropes. Wood County Health Department Public Health Specialist Jacob Wagner said that THC candies make it more intriguing for kids. As adults, we may not be interested in it, but the youth is much more excited by this, says Wagner. Research shows between the ages of 14 and 20, age ranges when they're most likely to experiment and most likely to develop some sort of substance disorder for the future, says Wagner. center. So this is super interesting. This regulation, I had no idea was actually being developed on the back end by the health and school divisions so that they could keep kids from having Delta 8 at the facilities, at the schools. And now the parents are going to be held responsible, and the students are going to be held accountable and could be suspended if they are caught to be on or having Delta 8 on campus. I think this is super interesting and something that like I said yesterday when I said 21 and over for Delta 8, yes, this is absolutely something that I think needs to happen, because a kid would get in trouble for having a cannabis product at school. Why wouldn't they get in trouble for having a Delta 8 product at school? And I'm Nicole West, very curious about what you guys have to say. Getting high at 9 with y'all.
I have a question. What is there any accountability if the teacher has a Delta 8 product and then the student steals it out of the teacher's bag?
You're not allowed to have it. You have to be 21. That's the point, is you have to be 21 years old. And if a teacher brought something on campus that was against the rules, the teacher would be in trouble, but the student is not allowed to be in possession of it. And so you're setting up some random possibility, but they're not supposed to have it on campus, the teachers.
Got it. Omar has a comment on this. Omar, what do you have to say on this?
I think Delta 8 is kind of like a workaround, for people who can't legally access Delta 9. And so they're basically trying to close the loophole, but criminalization and prohibition is never a reasonable solution, especially not when it comes to kids. So they're saying students could face increased penalties because now this is going to be more illegal. If kids using Delta 8 is an issue, and it sounds like it is, I'm not for that. I think, kids should not be using some untested mystery substance that's sold as Delta 8.
Absolutely. But what would you say, Omar, then? What would be a suggestion? Because I'm torn with this, right? I agree with you. I don't think kids should have it. I think people need to know when you go to buy it, hey, you have to be an adult to buy this. This is a 21 and over substance for the intoxication of the Delta 8 products. But how do we stop kids from having it without adding another regulation? How do we address this
I think
issue?
we need to have a definite cultural shift on how we talk to kids about controlled substances, including all types of psychoactive substances, including coffee and alcohol and tobacco, which are all societally accepted, and they're all psychoactive substances. I know people who can't even get out of bed until they have their coffee. So, there's definite dependence issues on it. And I think, treat it more like a wellness issue, so that people have a healthy relationship to these substances. I really like
how do you get kids to keep it out of the school? How do you get kids to keep it out of the school? The vape pen issue, the kids are all over the place, but we can
make it
say you have to be.
Make it uncool.
It's cool.
Omar, it's cool, Omar. You're not gonna
always be cool, Omar.
Yeah, we's always gonna be cool, Omar. It just is what it is.
Well, then why don't you let the kids get the real deal instead of Delta 8?
Oh, so you're saying that we should just drug all the kids, Omar?
I'm actually saying something very different, but I think you're seeming to think that it's impossible to have the cultural change where people can actually rethink their relationship to these substances. And I don't think it's impossible. I think it can be done in one generation.
The only time I ever hear about kids thinking that cannabis isn't cool is if their parents are smokers and they actually have had a very real conversation with their children in regards to cannabis, and then they're blatantly turned off because their parents do it, so it's is uncool. That's the only time I've ever seen that happen, though.
Omar, I agree with you to a certain extent. My wife is the director of mental health for 27 schools between Los Angeles and San Diego. We did for her big social worker following, we did a huge, not a PSA, just a Q&A for a lot of them, because they're seeing a lot of these vape cards, whether they're D8, D or D9, and I think in some other states, D10s are popping up too now. And it's just educating. You got to educate the social workers. You got to educate the people who are in the school systems about this stuff, because once you start cracking down on a lot of this shit, you're tearing apart families. Period.
Yes.
And the communities that hurt the worst from stuff like this are Black and brown communities, not just because of the availability to them. It's because motherfuckers are snitches in the hood. People snitch on each other in the hood, and next thing you know, your kid is in the foster care system and they're just caught up in a cycle of tearing families apart. So we need to educate the people at home on what it is, what it's not, what is dangerous and what's not. And we do need to regulate these products that are these Delta 8 and Delta 10 products. Period. If we're gonna be fighting for regulation of THC, it has to be across the board.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Rico. I really
Perfectly
appreciate
said.
your comment on that. Definitely a story that I'm going to keep following because I think this is interesting. And I do think a lot of places are going to start doing similar things. So I think that we definitely need to watch this. And just one more reason why we need to deschedule or bust. So the thoughts and opinions in general shade thrown at the High Nine News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, or any of the speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance, area, territory, or
Did anyone else lose Nicole's audio?
Nicole, I think you went mute during that, but nonetheless, we're going to keep it going. Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Our next.
Hold on, Rico. We have one more.
Okay.
Welcome to Los Ashes, the headiest city in America. Los Ashes is a 10-pound smokable city created by the world-renowned roller Weavers. In the past, Weavers has amazed cannabis lovers with roll jobs such as the smokable 5-pound rocket launcher and the 10-pound Darth Vader. But now Weavers is rolling an entire city. Have your business featured in Los Ashes with a ton of different sponsorship opportunities available. Email Weavers at 420weavers@gmail.com for full sponsorship information.
Big shout out to Weavers there. Much love. Up next, she splits her days and nights between cooking delicious treats and battling it out on K Street with pot-loving libs across the aisle. This full-time, feisty, red-headed conservative with claimed Mayflower roots and an infinite love for safe banking initiatives, along with Jason Beck, is coming to the stage next. She is the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, here to stretch with Gretchen. It's Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us today? Happy Friday.
Good afternoon, Rico. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Bipartisan Lawmakers Slam completely insufficient FDA response to hemp bill request and lack of CBD regulations. Bipartisan congressional lawmakers recently sent a pointed letter to the head of the FDA complaining about the completely insufficient response the agency provided in response to their bill calling for hemp-derived CBD to be permitted and regulated as a food additive. After the CBD Product Safety and Standardization Act was filed in December 2021, the sponsors sought technical assistance from the FDA to advise on key provisions. But 4 months after they sent the inquiry, FDA returned a one-page response that was simply a reformatting of a document provided to Congress over 2 years ago. That's what the lawmakers claim in a letter last month that was released yesterday. The FDA's response does not address provisions of our bill drafted specifically to address public safety and is completely insufficient response at this moment when cannabidiol products are proliferating around the country. That's according to Representatives Kathleen Rice, Morgan Griffith, and Angie Craig, and Dan Crenshaw. Despite after being given regulatory authority over hemp and its derivatives under the 2018 Farm Bill, FDA has refused to act on the authority, allowing a marketplace where dangerous products like those containing Delta 8 THC are often indistinguishable from products that meet strict standards for quality, dosage, packaging, and sale established by state regulators who have stepped in to fill the regulatory void. The lawmakers are asking the FDA to go back to the drawing board and provide revised technical assistance that more specifically addresses these concerns and directly speaks to the relevant provisions of their bill. Because the FDA has so far declined to take action to allow the marketing of hemp derivatives in food and beverages, states have increasingly stepped in to fill the regulatory gap, with about 24 having enacted rules for the cannabinoids that are widely available in markets across the country. These state regulations are a direct result of FDA's inaction, lack of clarity, and refusal to engage meaningfully on this issue. The the letter said to FDA Commissioner Robert Califf. However, we believe that the FDA can and should reverse course and learn from these state governments, working with them to determine how a federal framework could be designed to eliminate the unsustainable and inefficient patchwork of state regulations. At a House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing in May, FDA's Califf recognized that the agency had moved slowly with rulemaking for CBD in the food supply, stating that the situation looks pretty much the same in terms of where we are now, as compared to when he first went to work on the issue in 2016. He said the FDA has taken steps in research the safety profile of cannabinoids to inform future rules, but he also punted the criticism about inaction to Congress, saying he doesn't feel that the current authorities we have on the food side or the drug side necessarily give us what we need to get to the right pathways forward. We're going to have to come up with something new, Califf said, and I'm very committed to doing that. But for months, they have gone without an update. The bipartisan lawmakers have grown increasingly frustrated, and they demanded answers from the FDA within 30 days of receiving the letter, which would put the deadline at the end of next week. They said at a minimum, the agency should be providing enforcement guidelines for the hemp cannabinoid market. I cannot agree more with these bipartisan lawmakers. The FDA has been falling down on the job for the past several years, I think, when it comes to cannabis. And frankly, they were told to get their shit together on CBD in this bill, and they refused to do so. It's time that someone took the FDA to task. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
I mean, I'm with you, Gretchen. I think it's fine time the FDA gets off their ass and actually does something instead of just taking this back row seat of let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think Congress needs to have hearings on why the FDA is not following congressional directives and what funding consequences should follow.
I mean, the big reason Congress is not acting is because Big Pharma is in bed with the FDA, and they do not want to piss off Big Pharma or the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
follow
being
the
a bunch
money.
of wusses.
Follow the
It's
money,
ridiculous.
right, Gretchen?
Always follow the money. Congress is all about the money. It's just simply ridiculous. Some of the questions that they're asking the FDA to answer are what are the specific, discrete scientific questions FDA is seeking answers to before issuing regulations to permit CBD in food and other products? What actions has the FDA taken to present these questions to the scientific community? What other actions have the FDA taken to obtain answers to these questions? Does the FDA have answers to these questions for every other food ingredient and dietary supplement ingredient on the market? If not, explain the difference in standards. It's fucking ridiculous. For the FDA to just say, my bad. It's insane. And frankly, there should be repercussions. There was
a issue earlier this year, I remember, where the FDA actually helped some Hawaii cops crack down on the CBD manufacturers in Hawaii and the people selling CBD by doing like some kind of like a sting operation with the FDA, asking just a few questions about the operations. And then they submitted all that to the state. And then the state cops came and were like, oh, you told the FDA that you're doing CBD. You're not allowed to, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it's interesting the times that they choose to play the cops and then the times that they choose to play dumb. Like, because sometimes they're coming and kicking in fucking doors with police, with the FDA on CBD, right? And then sometimes they're like, I don't know.
Hold on, when have they gone with the FDA to actually raid a place? Because I've only seen
been
the FDA
several.
send out letters.
They did that in Hawaii.
They did it in Hawaii, and they did it in Atlanta too. The FDA's gone with the cops with like a whole ass thing. One of them had a potential that there was like the FBI was involved in one of them. So I'm assuming that it had something to do with international something or other.
Oh man.
Yeah. There's been a few, and sometimes they're fucking cops about it, and sometimes they're paper pushers. It's interesting.
And everybody who is snitching on shit like this behind the scenes, be careful who you get in bed with, because you might get herpes.
I mean, and the FDA has continued to say that Congress needs to act. Well, Congress acted when they put together this bill and told them to get their shit together and put out regs for CBD, and they ignored it. It's fucking bullshit.
I agree with you so much, Gretchen. And that was a fantastic story. Thank you so much for that today. Coming up next, in an industry full of snakes, fakes, and flakes, in the great red state of Texas, with trolls posting up daily, smoking Delta 8 under the bridge. This fellow Delp Dad is hitting the high road. That's right, he's the host and co-creator of the new show, Hitting the High Road, and fellow seeker of the truth. It is none other than the Stone Slade.
Thank you, Jason Beck. My story today comes from Eater, Houston. You guys are going to love this one. I like to joke politically with Jason Beck about the red state of Texas being purple, as the majority of the major metropolitan areas have gone blue. But unfortunately, when it comes to cannabis, Texas is still very much under red leadership, or the lack thereof, of Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who has killed multiple cannabis bills before they even reached the governor's desk. With this unfavorable cannabis climate, Texas entrepreneurs are finding ways to offer Texans a legal cannabis experience. You can find dispensaries in all the major cities offering a wide selection of hemp products, but the founders of Grinders Coffee Bar, a CBD coffee shop and dispensary located in Houston, Texas, have taken it a step further. On Monday, September 19th, these hemp connoisseurs will open the second location of its coffee shop, dispensary, and cocktail bar called Wild in Houston's swanky Montrose neighborhood, known for its gay bars, vintage stores, and eclectic mix of eateries. However, this location will become Houston's first legal cannabis-infused fine dining experience. The pictures I've seen of the food looks amazing, true upscale 5-star dining experience, all with the option to infuse or dose the experience with hemp-based CBD or hemp-derived THC, which the Eater journalist gives you a high similar to that of marijuana. According to the Texas Health and Safety Code, the state allows hemp products that do not exceed 0.3% of Delta-9. Anything over 0.3% THC would be considered marijuana and would be considered illegal. Executive Chef German Mascara says the project will feature collaborations with local health and food companies, plus a host of scientists and chemists to ensure that the menu is infused properly with adequate doses. Wild will offer brunch and dinner experiences that include anything from a croissant cube French toast made with banana brulee and chantilly cream to Delta-9 infused caviar and the restaurant's branded Wagyu beef tomahawk steak. We're not only offering unique things, but we're also being playful so people have a destination space in Montrose that feels like they're not in Houston, says Chef Mascara, which in my opinion is a good thing because Houston's kind of gross. All dishes have the option of being infused with CBD or THC for the hemp-filled experience, or virgin dishes for the party poopers. Now, this is where things are going to get a little tricky. Wild will not only be offering the cannabis hemp dining experience, but will also give tipsy Texans the option to get crossfaded. That's right. The wheels are coming off this wagon with cocktails like a classic espresso martini or mango Rye Tai made with Old Forester 100 rye whiskey, and then cannabis. I love to see people pushing the envelope here and seeing what they can get away with as we wait for Texas to legalize. This place is beautifully decorated like a jungle paradise, Bali-inspired lounge. A look at the Wild website, they say, we take pride in building trust with our customers through education and personal connection, which is awesome. But I got to say, I'm a little concerned with getting non-experienced or even experienced people crossfaded, but more so the people trying it for the first time, because whether it came from hemp or not, if something bad happens, like someone crashes their car leaving the bar, it'll be cannabis that takes the hit, probably over even the alcohol, which caused the accident to begin with. So that's what I got. I'm Stone Slade reporting for the High at 9 News. I feel like Nicole West is chomping at the bit to say something on this one.
Shout out to the crossfade.
So they're allowing them to sell alcohol, yes, and up to 0.3 Delta-9, yes, and additional CBD and THC Delta-8, and doing it all in one place in one sitting. I'm curious, not as much about anything other than how the ABC is going to look at that for their liquor license, because that is where things get really sketchy for them, because liquor license value in almost any city, especially a city like Houston, you're looking at 150 grand plus on just the piece of paper, right? The value of just to sell a liquor license. I've never seen a liquor license go for less than 150,000. So just that paper alone, if they have a hard liquor license, is worth way more than whatever they're going to think that they're going to get off a fucking 0.3% Delta 9 THC. And so I'm curious how long they get to do it before someone says something, and or if there comes some Houston regulation. I really would have expected this out of Austin, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I think their biggest issue is going to be their liquor license.
I don't think the ABC is going to do anything about this, Nicole, because hemp is federally legal.
No, that's not true, because they said the same thing about CBD. They said that they are not allowed to do it at a place that CBD, they've openly said this in California. We're going to be able to sell CBD next year. We're going to be able to sell alcohol next year. The ABC says not together, bitch. Clearly.
In writing, they said that shit too.
In motherfucking writing, not together.
It would be nice if the FDA got their shit together and actually ruled on some of this crap moving forward for the cannabis infused experiences. But I would also be very surprised if this restaurant did not force people to sign some type of agreement, disclosure, disclaimer before they actually consume there. I've been to some places where, I mean, it's just simple, like they're serving like a 10-course meal and you don't get any say in it. That says if they give you something that you're allergic to and they kill you, that's on you for agreeing to eat whatever they put in front of you. So I would be very shocked if these people were not smart enough to put some type of agreement in front of folks that if you decide to cross fade and drive, that they would not be held liable. I think
I would bet you Gretchen, $100 that this restaurant does not have something like that in place. I would put money on that.
I hope they're listening, because that would be a cheap and easy way not to go to jail. But I'd ask Omar if that would keep them from any liability.
I would like to see some video documentation of the crossfade effects of THC in alcohol versus THC in Delta 8. See if there's like any difference there.
I have a lot of pictures of crossfade, and I always look a lot happier.
Shout out to the crossfade, man. I got nothing but love for the crossfade. It's great for the weekends. You gonna keep it rolling here? Okay.
Yes, you're good.
So, this multi-talented and multifaceted attorney's the founder of a bi-coastal boutique cannabis law firm with offices in California and New York. He's also the NCIA director, a legal publisher, author, ganjier, and purple belt in high-style Brazilian jiu-jitsu, reserving his right to legally break the wrist and walk away from anyone fucking up a rotation in his cipher. Coming to the stage next, it's Omar Figueroa.
Omar, you have to unmute your mic.
I know Omar was saying that he has not been able to hear on Clubhouse, so perhaps
he lost
sound. He did say that. Omar, you may need to exit the room and come right back in.
Well, if he could hear you, I'm sure that would help.
Somebody pass their ID back to Omar. Get him in.
I mean, he was working before.
Should we?
Let's just go to Dr. Jean real quick, and we'll
roll it.
Yeah.
Dr. Jean.
All right. Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's a real industry OG with a proven track record representing the people with the utmost compassion. Although the founder of Medican and co-founder of nonprofit cannabis research organization CESC might be coming to you for Clubhouse, his vision and what we see for the sites are big. Dr. Jean Talleyrand, what do you have for us today?
Hi, thanks, Nicole. I am having trouble with computer too, but so I will pull up the article. Sorry about that. Oh, my system just shut down.
Mercury sipping on Gatorade again today. What's going on? I think the internet is dehydrated. Everybody's computers are messing up today.
We could just sit here and make fun of Jason for a bit.
Man,
I want to see Jason Beck's clone with a blue shirt on.
I have a blue shirt.
He has a blue one with a red polo guy.
Yes. Let's record that this weekend. Liberal Beck.
I'm not dyeing my hair purple.
There's a lot of filters that'll do that for you. Like, we don't even need to dye your hair.
You have a filter that'll make my hair purple?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
Oh my god!
I've never used it, but I'm certain I do.
This week,
I can figure it out.
I love the fact that you said that you've never used it, but I have it.
because there's a filter for everything on your phone. So I'm just saying yes because I'm 99% sure that it's either built into Snapchat or Instagram, but I'm just going to say yes.
I prefer no
Okay, guys,
filter.
I'm back.
All right, Dr. Talleyrand. Yes, sir.
Thanks for that fill-in. Good morning, everyone. My story today is from Canadian Press. Wild West, audit on veterans' medical cannabis sparks calls for oversight and research. According to an audit released this week, Canadian veterans' use of medical cannabis has significantly increased over the past decade. The number of former soldiers seeking reimbursement from the Canadian government for medical cannabis purchases has grown from about 100 in 2014 to about 18,000. The audit found that veterans spent an estimated 156 million Canadian dollars, that's 118 US, over the past year on cannabis. This is forecast to 321 million, doubling by 2026. The report states, more and more veterans are now seeking reimbursement for cannabis for medical purposes, either because conventional treatments fail to relieve their symptoms or cause negative side effects. 80% of the veterans use 3 grams of cannabis or less per day. Oliver Thorne of the Veterans Transition Network says, the audit raises serious concerns about how the program is being run, likening the situation to the Wild West. While acknowledging the potential benefits and some limitations of medical cannabis in the audit, Thorne says one of his biggest worries is that former service members appear to be asking for more and more cannabis. The report cites a lack of proper guidance on who can or should access medical cannabis. The report also raises concerns on the lack of clear evidence of health benefits to the former soldiers, suggesting the department was too focused instead on ensuring access to the program. Health Canada and the College of Family Physicians of Canada have raised concerns in the past about the lack of evidence on the benefits of cannabis for mental health conditions such as PTSD. Most of the cannabis reimbursements were made for PTSD, according to the audit. The audit also noted that 45 veterans were prescribed medical cannabis despite being diagnosed with substance abuse disorders. The auditors concluded that the Veterans Affairs Department must, quote, engage with health experts in developing a stronger policy and monitoring framework that will support the health needs of veterans and their families. I realize that this story is trying to raise the alarm about the increasing use and spending on cannabis by the Canadian government. However, this audit also highlights the importance of cannabis as medical treatment for veterans. The increasing use may simply indicate that cannabis is working. Stronger policies without study would repeat the prohibitive mistakes of the past. The most important conclusion from this audit is the need for more study. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand reporting for High at 9 News.
Salem.
This is great. But Dr. Talleyrand, it seems like with every research study that we always constantly get, the overall summary is that we always still need more research.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, because the research is not being done, it's a difficult plant to study because it's a plant and we're used to studying single agent pharmaceuticals, which may be part of the reason the FDA is also dragging its feet.
Could it also possibly be, Dr. Talleyrand, that the cannabis plant is so complex because it is a female plant?
I don't know if
hemp is simple, huh? Is that what you're saying, Jason?
I'm just saying. I mean, hemp is already fucking done. You know what I mean? Cannabis is the thing that's like the hold up on everything. You know what I mean?
You can make a rope out of that shit. Just beat it. You know what I'm saying?
What I think would be great is if the U.S. government would also be paying for the cannabis that veterans are using here. But
159%, Dr. Talleyrand.
I mean, I'm like really, I'm buying into your. Cannabis plants are harder to figure out.
Because they're
more expensive.
They're complex.
They're more complex.
Yep.
How many
rewarding? They're more rewarding.
They're more desired.
Yes.
Right. once they open up, there's all kinds of crosses and just different.
Man.
Introduced.
I mean, there are male cannabis plants, but we don't like them as much.
No one likes the males. Yeah, exactly. No. And not to mention the girls are prettier.
Always
prettier.
And then yeah, someone's getting a call.
That's so weird because my thing is on do not disturb, so I have no clue how that call was able to go through.
Somebody doesn't care. They're like, call this person anyway.
It was probably a female.
I think Omar is back. Can we get to Omar's story before close today?
Let's do it. So once again,
thank you, Dr. Jean.
Yes, Dr. Jean, that was an incredible story, and I think we all agree with you on that one. But coming to the stage next and closing us out today, this multi-talented, multifaceted attorney is the founder of a bi-coastal boutique cannabis law firm with offices in California and New York. He's also the NCIA director, a legal publisher, author, ganjier, purple belt in high Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and reserving his right to legally break the wrist and walk away from anyone fucking his cipher. Coming to the stage is Omar Figueroa. What you got for us today, my brother? Glad to have you back.
Yeah, thank you, Rico. Happy Feliz Dia de la Independencia, everyone. My story is from the Los Angeles Times by Adam Elmarek, Robert Lopez, and Ruben Vivas. The headline is Legal Pot Spawned a Wave of Corruption, Threats, and Secret Financial Deals for Politicians. This is in-depth investigative journalism, and there's not enough time to read the whole story, but I encourage everyone to read the original because what happens in California spreads to the rest of the country. This is how the story starts. In the San Gabriel Valley, a city councilman demanded bribes from businesses seeking cannabis licenses, according to a source cooperating with the FBI. In another small LA County city, a cannabis industry group offered $15,000 to council candidates who would pledge to support changes to city regulations that weed businesses wanted, an exchange one legal expert said flirted at the edges of the law. And in rural Northern California, an elected official pushed to expand the amount of weed that farms could legally grow, a proposal sought by a cannabis business that was paying her and her husband hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy their ranch. California's decision to legalize recreational cannabis in 2016 ushered in a multi-billion-dollar commercial pot market that officials in many small, struggling communities hope would bring new jobs and an infusion of tax revenue to spend on police, parks, and roads. But for some cities, the riches never materialized. Instead, the advent of commercial cannabis unleashed a wave of corruption, prosecutions, and accusations that has rocked local governments across the state and left them with few effective tools to combat the problem. From the rugged mountains near Oregon to the desert along the Mexican border, a Times investigation found corruption or other questionable conduct covering a vast area of activities. Public officials demanding cash from cannabis business owners to approve licenses. Government officials threatened with physical violence over pot regulations. And elected officials accepting money from cannabis businesses even as they regulated them. In addition, the industry has donated a torrent of campaign cash to local government officials as cannabis became a new and powerful special interest. Lobbyists, pot entrepreneurs, and public officials say bribery and shakedowns have become so commonplace in cannabis licensing that it feels like a normal part of doing business. The corrupting flow of money has its roots in how California crafted its cannabis legalization law to regulate an industry that until recently operated underground. Prop 64 put the ultimate decision on where pot businesses could operate in the hands of cities and counties. More than half of cities and counties refuse to allow any type of operation, including recreational sales or farming. Those that do authorize pot businesses generally restrict the number of licenses, creating fierce competition among entrepreneurs looking to cash in. Giving thousands of often part-time, low-paid officials across the state the power to choose winners and losers from the new green rush created fertile ground for competition. And the story discusses a reported payoff of $250,000 in a brown paper bag in Baldwin Park. There are also detailed accounts of sketchy shenanigans up and down the state, from Trinity County in the Emerald Triangle to the SoCal cities of Montebello, Linwood, Santa Ana, and Calexico. My take is that local control is a disaster and cannabis should be regulated like alcohol, where a local government doesn't have the power to declare itself a dry county but can impose reasonable regulations regarding the place and manner where alcohol sales take place. The headline is Legal Pots Spawned a Wave of Corruption, Threats, and Secret Financial Deals for Politicians. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and Ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
Thank you for covering this,
yeah.
Omar. Like,
so much corruption.
Is this any surprise to anybody, man? Like, whenever there's going to be some kind of new business, especially if it's tied to something that's already federally illegal, where cops are already illegally getting money from, do you think that it's not going to shift over to new bad players trying to get their fucking hand in the pot too?
Yeah, the potential for graft is just baked right into the initiative by giving the 58 counties and 480 cities local control.
Does local control exist in liquor in California? Like, could a county, like the way in like Kentucky, I know counties can choose to not to be dry counties. Can we do that in California with a liquor?
No, they can't.
They can't.
They have
okay,
to allow
so that's
it.
they have to allow liquor. That's interesting, and that's bullshit that they would be able to do that with cannabis, but they couldn't do it with liquor. It's always been a question of mine, so I'm really glad that you had that answer ready for us, Omar.
We do have Stephen up from the audience and Malik also.
Hey, Jason. Hey, crew. How you guys doing? I'm digging the High at 9. Thank you for having me up here. Thank you, Omar, for reading that article. As you always bring light to this corruption in cannabis, and you want to talk about what's really stifled the growers and really stifled the industry. It's the absolute, and I mean absolute, from the top to the bottom, corruption. They took what was a compassionate industry for the most part and turned it into a giant cartel. And that's the way they treat us. That's the way they've been treating us from the very beginning, continually changing the goalpost, continually freaking adding more and more bureaucracy to the process on a yearly and at some points a daily basis. I'm very grateful that you guys are bringing this to light, because it is very, 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 very true. And they're turning a blind eye for the freaking almighty dollar and letting us good people who have struggled.
Thank you for that,
and I
Stephen.
appreciate
Yes, thank you, Stephen.
Follow the money.
I just really wonder. There was recently
follow the money
here in Los Angeles County. There was recently a raid on a Board of Supervisors member by the FBI, a Sheila Kuehl, and I'm wondering if cannabis has anything to do with this most recent FBI raid, because Los Angeles County currently holds a ban on all cannabis activity.
I wonder if you follow the money.
Raise
find the honey.
Where's your Twilight music, Rico? There we go.
We had somebody else in the audience that wanted to weigh in 20 seconds or less.
No, Malik was not able to come up. He had his hand raised but did not come up. So we have no one left in the queue in Clubhouse.
Well, thank you for that story. Thank you so much, Omar. I literally love hearing you tell stories every single time. When you're quoting somebody, I feel like I'm hearing it from their perspective. So thank you for that. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Make sure you catch us Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. If you're watching us, please hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It really helps us get those algorithms going up. So when you search for us, you can find us, because High at 9 News apparently isn't that easily searchable on YouTube. Thank you all to our sponsors, our audience, and our supporters, to the haters for still talking about us, to True Classic, LAXCC, and Weavers for helping us eat. Thank you to the correspondents for being absolutely amazing, and to Weed for helping us be funnier. Thank you to 3 is 4 for being awesome, trippy house cats and helping us sound like we actually know what the fuck we're doing. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us.
Mercury's in retrograde. Grab your cookies.
Run that shit.
Run the music.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research, and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs, and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.